Hello, I'm Tobias and welcome to Spoonflower's Craft Friday this year. I'm going to sew with you the DIY zippered pouch. It looks like this. The advantage of the pouch is that you have a metal zipper, so it's quite nice and it enhances a bit the quality impression of your project. And you can decorate it as you like. I put, for example, a little embroidery here and I attached to the zipper a little piece of leather, so it's really up to you what you're going to make of it. And I have a shop in Geneva. It's in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, but actually I'm from Germany. And I had the idea of opening my shop because in 2015 I won the German version of the Great British Sewing Bee. And afterwards I thought I really have to follow my passion and I wanted to give sewing courses. And as you perhaps, I'm a fabric lover. So I opened the shop in 2017. And if you want to follow what I do, I have two Instagram accounts. One is German and the other one is French. They're the same on Facebook. And now I'm happy to start sewing with you and have a good sew. For your project, you need a piece of fabric. I took dry oilskin, but you can take as well Spoonflower's Cypress cotton canvas, matching thread, double-sided basting tape. This one's quite narrow, it's 4 millimeters. That's quite good because they come in different sizes and we use it, or I use it to put in the zipper. And when you have a very narrow one, you won't sew with your needle into the basting tape, so you won't have glue on your needle. Then you need a zipper, a metal zipper. I'll show you how to put it in. And actually, usually when you sew a zipper, you can sew it with a zipper foot, but we're going to take this one or make this one with the normal foot. I'll show you how. I would recommend you to take a 90s needle, to change your needle for a 90s one. Usually you sew with the 80 one, 90 is a bit thicker, and because of the heavier material, it's better to take a heavier needle. And in general, it's good to change your needle from time to time, because when you don't have a very good needle or when your needle is a bit old, that may reduce the quality of your seam. At first, you cut two pieces of fabric, 28 to 16 centimeters. If you want to have these shaped corners, you can now adapt your fabric pieces. You can as well leave the straight corners, or you can make round corners as well. Remember, the seam allowance is half a centimeter. To make the alterations on your corners, you can either use tailor's chalk, or when you work with dry oilskin, you can use a point turner. So at first, what I'm going to do is I put in the seam allowance, so that's half a centimeter. Then I'm going to look what I want to have the shape afterwards, because this will be approximately the outside of your pouch. There, see, I have like 1.5 centimeter. It's almost like this. So I make an approximate line, just approximately, and have a look. What's the distance between the corner and the shape? So here it's about 2, so I make like 2.3 centimeters. I make just a little mark. Same here. And then I connect them. That will be the shape of my corner afterwards. And because of the seam allowance, you have to add it. Now you have your corner, you just have to copy it on the other corners as well. Now you have your two exterior fabric pieces, and with the rest of the fabric you're going to cut a smaller piece for the zipper. You just have to measure it, and when you measure a zipper, never measure the tape, you measure only the teeth. So this one's 23 centimeters long and 2.5 centimeters wide. And the fabric piece you have to cut, it has to be the same width, but 2 centimeters longer than the teeth. So it's going to be 25 by 2.5 centimeters. When you finish cutting the fabric, I'm going to make some markings. Normally you make it at 1 centimeter, but as the zipper, usually they are slightly smaller than they're indicated, but as this one is exactly 23 centimeters and you need a little bit of spacing here, I'm going to make a marking at 0.075, not at 1, 0.75 at both ends. And I'm going to make a big marking in the middle. So half of it, it's 1.25. Now you take your outer fabric piece, and with my fabric it's same on both sides, so for you to make it easier, I'm going to just put my initials here on the right side of the fabric. So you're going to see that this is the wrong side and this is the right side. And then I'm going to make a marking at a distance of 3 centimeters. When you have a canvas, you can make it for sure with tailor's chalk. So you don't have to make it until the end, you just have to have the line here 3 centimeters distance. Now you take your outer piece with the right side facing you and the smaller piece, you fold it in the middle, make a marking to know where it's the middle. Same for the outer piece. And then you put right side on right side the small strip in the middle and this marking in the middle here on the marking of the outer side of your front piece. As you remember, it must be 3 centimeters from the middle to the edge. Here it's 3 centimeters as well. Now you're going to sew a window with 0.5 centimeter seam allowance around, and on the corners you sew exactly here on this line. I always double check if it's really 3 centimeters distance. Now you can see that I've sewn like a window one time around the line. Now you're going to have to cut it open, and on the edges cut until here in the middle. When you cut into the corners, cut as long as you can, but don't cut in the seam. When you've cut everything open, you have to turn it inside out, or outside in, more like. And with the dry oilskin, you can just push it with your fingernails. When you have a canvas, you just have to press it. To make the task a bit easier for you to turn it from the outside to the inside, you can open the seam allowance here and press it down. Same for the corner. Because if the seam here is flattened, it's easier to turn everything from the outside to the inside. And then it will lie very flat. From the back, your seam has to look like this. And from the front, you have a window. When you stick the double-sided basting tape onto the zipper, make sure that it's on the top side, and then that you put it really on the edge of the tape, like this. Press gently so that the glue will stick very well on the tape. So you're going to take off one strip so that the top part here is gluing. This is the outside of your pockets, not of your pocket but of your pouch. And what I'm going to do is, at the very end, I'll try to glue it as close as possible, and just with a little press it stays in place. You can as well do it on the back side. You just have to pay attention that it's really in the center. Like this. When you don't glue it in the first place right, it's not a problem, because this kind of basting tape, or basting tapes in general, you can always put them off afterwards. So you can change the position before you're really definitely going to sew. So when I turn around, you see, it's quite neat. I just need to adjust here a little bit. Then I'm going to do from here. It's going to be really straight. And now, just the lower part. Now that you have glued in the zipper, you can see that here can be very close, and here it needs a bit of spacing for the slide, so when we open and close it later, that it can move. And from the back, actually the zipper is not glued onto the top piece, it's more glued onto the small piece that you've sewn in before. The only thing that's left now for the zipper is you have to top stitch here one time around the zipper. If you top stitch with a normal sewing foot, make sure that the needle position is to the very left. Otherwise you can as well top stitch with a zipper foot. I make the top stitching at the end of the zipper, that means at the opposite side of where you have the slide, and I take a stitch length of 3.0 millimeters. When you come close to the slide, you're going to start with the needle position in the fabric. You upper the presser foot, and then you pull the zipper open so that you can continue to sew. Now your zipper is inserted. As you can see from the inside, it looks like this. To sew both sides of the pouch together, you're going to put right side on right side of the fabric, but very important, don't forget to open the zipper at least a little, because otherwise you can't turn the back around. And then you're going to stitch with a seam allowance of 0.5 centimeter. Before you start stitching, don't forget to put your needle in the middle position. For a nicer finish, you can cut the seam allowance a bit smaller on the edges, so when you turn it around, the points are going to be a bit nicer. Now you're going to open the bag. And you turn it around. For the corners, you can use the point turner to push them out so that they will sit correctly. Next, with your thumb or with the other end of the point turner, you're going to press out your seams from the inside to the outside. It's quite important that the seam is really on the edge. Now your pouch is almost finished. You just need to top stitch one time around the pouch. And I'm always starting here in the corner. And I'm doing it with the seam allowance of the width of the foot. That means that the edge of the fabric is at the edge of the foot. I hope you're happy with your results. I'm actually very happy with mine. I like that color. And if you want to see more inspiration from me, I wrote a sewing book. It's men's patterns and unisex patterns and a lot of accessories as well. It is in German, but actually if you know quite well sewing, the seam allowances are all included and the patterns are in the back, in the big pouch. So it's really, there are like more than 20 projects. So you can do a lot of sewing. And now I wish you fun with all the other instructors. And I hope to see you soon. And if I may already say so, a very happy Christmas.